Welcome to Fertility Cafe, the home for every conversation exploring alternative family building through IVF, surrogacy, egg, sperm, and embryo donation. Our host, Eloise Drain, alternates episodes between educational shows covering specific topics and guest narratives for further insight. For a mastery, understanding, and confidence in all things alternative family, subscribe to Fertility Cafe.
Hey there. Welcome to episode 87 of Fertility Cafe. In this episode, we'll be talking with an intended mother, Arvis Smith, who gets raw and real about the emotional trials and tribulations of struggling with infertility and third-party reproduction for over 20 years. She shares some of the medical struggles she has gone through and how she learned to advocate for her mental and physical health along the way. She also talks about the ups and downs of all she and her husband Martin have experienced in their quest to create the family they have so longed for. It's a testament to their faith as well as their devotion to each other that they have stayed the course and are still hopeful, even as Arvis turns 50, that their family building journey is not over yet. Arvis is a former veterinary hospital director whose passion for teaching and nurturing kids sparked a career pivot to teaching middle school. She lives in Metro Atlanta with her husband of 23 years, Martin. I am truly happy to welcome Arvis to the show today. Well, Arvis, thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you were willing to do this with me today.
Thank you, Eloise. So great to see you again.
So let's start with your story and sharing a little bit about yourself and your husband.
Hopefully my journey will bless someone else. As I have found, I have been blessed through everything that has happened. I am 49 years old, African-American female. I will be 50 May 10th.
Looking good, girl. Looking
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. I'll take that. Thank you. I've been married for 23 years. I met my husband at a store he was managing, and come to find out we had gone to the same college together, but at different times. So we got to talking and realized that we knew some of the same people. So there was an instant connect there. When we got married, to be honest, I wasn't even thinking about starting a family. I really didn't even know at that time that I even wanted to marry. I was just focused on going back to school, finishing another degree, just very much career oriented. And I realized as I got older, things began to change, and I really started to have a deep desire to have a family, and had no idea what I was up against. I thought it would just be the old traditional, get married and start the process of starting a family. But that did not happen. After we really got serious about, trying to start a family, and we realized that, I was older already at that age of late 20s, early 30s, I decided to see a specialist. And my girlfriend recommended that I go to Emory. I really didn't know where to go because I didn't even know that anything was necessarily wrong. But she kind of shared with me, as you get older, things start happening to your body that you might need some support from, a specialist. So I made an appointment, went to Emory. Everybody was great. And she said, well, being that you guys have been trying for about 6 months to 8 months and you hadn't gotten pregnant, we might need to do some additional testing. And that's when I was diagnosed with low ovarian reserve. At that time, really didn't understand, the term or what that really meant. But as I started to do some homework, I found out that the amount of eggs that we're born with, they slowly diminish over time. And the largest amount of eggs are actually present when we're in our mother's womb. So that kind of threw me. I'm like, oh my, I'm late 20, early 30s. What does that mean for me? She says, well, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have any eggs because you're still having a regular cycle, but it just means that the quality and the quantity has diminished greatly. But she said, don't be concerned. There are definitely interventions that we can do to help you. I became really connected with that doctor, and I thought that she would be the one in which I would be going through all of the process, but later found out that she was leaving, going to another state. So I was like, where do I go now? Who should I see? So a lot of time passed actually, because I did not really start the process with Emory at all. I was just kind of diagnosed there, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I may have been either online or reading something in a magazine or something, and I came across Fertility for Colored Girls. And I was like, what is this? Is this perhaps something that could help me? So I got connected with the group and found out that there were a lot of African American females like myself that were going through the same or similar situation. Being in that support group, it allowed me to not only connect with others in a comfortable space, but it allowed me to have resources that I was not aware of. I had no clue on this, what appears to be big but small world, and so intimately connected because everybody in that group at that time had their own journey and their own struggle. And they were able to share just so much information and knowledge with me. So I'm pretty sure from that group, I was able to get connected with another fertility doctor. It was, I don't know if I can say it or not, but ACRM,
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta Center for Reproductive Medicine. And I was there for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. The doctor confirmed that it was low ovarian reserve, and he recommended that we try for donor eggs, which we did. And the donor that we chose was a proven donor. She had been successful several times helping other families. So I felt very comfortable going into the procedure, but we did 3 transfers and we weren't successful. Well, I shouldn't say we weren't successful. I was able to get pregnant, but I wasn't able to sustain the pregnancy. And once you get on this emotional roller coaster, it's like a constant up and down, up and down. And to be honest, we were not prepared financially for all of what it entailed, but I just knew that it was something that we both wanted so very much. So we said, okay, we'll just take out some money, take out a loan and get this done, because if she's been successful previously, and she was much older, surely it's going to work for us. But things didn't work out, and we definitely wanted to have some more transfers, which meant additional money. And, before we knew it, we were well over $30,000 with nothing. So as we were going through, you're never really looking at how much everything is costing, because you're so like, it's really going to happen this time. This is it for surely this, because it feels different. It feels right. It feels like this is the time, but that time never really came. So we decided to just stop everything from ACRM and just kind of give a break for mental purposes, for financial purposes, just for our overall well-being, because the up and down, the medications, the injections, all of which I was very thankful to have had Martin there to help me through all of that. But we also had to go through the process of miscarrying several times. I do remember that there was a time when we had gotten pregnant naturally without any intervention at all, just old school, regular,
Mm-hmm.
just us, which I was like, I couldn't even believe that it happened. But shortly after, we miscarried again. So just that within itself was it put us actually in a very, very dark place that I have to be mindful that I can't go back to that place again.
Mm-hmm.
I lost a significant amount of weight. I was started to seek the help of a therapist because it was just too much.
Mm-hmm.
It was just rough. because it's been so long of a time frame, because this is over a 9 or 10 year period, with just trying different things and, going, seeing different doctors. When we finally said we were, at our breaking point is when I think I, for a short time, was about to go to Piedmont or something for additional support or something. And that's when the doctor told me that I needed to have a DNC, which I was not on board with, but I kind of felt like, this is a doctor. She's really going to do what's best for me. But in my mind, there was still a chance, like, let's wait before we do this DNC because perhaps we're rushing this procedure.
Why though the DNC? Like, how did that even come up?
That must have been actually right during the last time that I'd gotten pregnant. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Had to have been, because I do remember going to the doctor, checking for a heartbeat, and nothing was there. But in my mind, I was thinking, well, maybe it's just something is delayed or something, not really wanting to grasp what was really happening, which is why I was not on board, for a DNC. And, she was like, maybe you should get it done before the weekend, because I don't want you to be in an uncomfortable situation if something happens and you're not able to get in contact with me or your primary care doctor. So I kind of felt like I was a little forced to get it, but I was aware of what I was doing, but I just wanted to wait a little while longer. But the way it was explained to me is, if she didn't hear anything at that point, highly unlikely she was going to hear anything in 2 weeks. But I just wasn't ready to wrap my head around having that procedure done. For a long time after that procedure, I kind of like kicked myself, because I'm just like, I made the wrong decision. But
you need to give yourself some grace, girl.
Yes.
You need to give yourself some grace, because it's not water under the bridge. You lost a child.
Yeah.
And you were holding on to your child, as any mother would.
The reason that I wanted to wait is because I really felt like the baby that was inside of me was saying, Mommy, don't do this yet. I'm here. Just wait. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to push through. I am strong, but just wait. Don't listen to that doctor. Just, I'm in here. Just, I'm going through some struggles. Just wait before you do anything. That's what I was hearing. That is what was in my mind. So when I did the procedure, I felt like I kind of jumped the gun. I kind of jumped the gun. So yeah, that was really about.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it is where if they don't see a heartbeat, it's probably not going to just come out of nowhere, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And I think one of the things too that happens often is when you want something so badly and you want a different outcome that you put in your mind, and it's kind of like what your mind is telling you. And so it's like your mind and your heart, it's not connecting, of what but what you want to believe. And as many losses as you have had, and as many heartbreaks as you have had, it's not, like I said, it's where you need to allow yourself some grace.
Yes.
You really do. So you gone through that, and then after you had that DNC, then what?
After the DNC, I just kind of started to wrap my head around, like, this is not going to happen. We cannot just continue to use the finances that we have for something that may never happen. So we just stopped and started to work on healing ourselves. He started seeing a therapist. I started seeing a therapist. Then we started going to one together just because it was just so much of an emotional toll. I was a wreck because it was like I couldn't even really, it hurt me to even hear a baby cry. I would just start to break down. And then I was constantly getting invited to different baby showers. And you want to be there to support, but it was so hard, like you're happy. You're, of course, happy, but you're also aching and hurting at the same time, but you don't want to make it seem like it's an all about me moment when it's really not. But it was just like a really weird place to be in. So we both decided, just continue with therapy. And I stayed in the group for a while, Fertility for Colored Girls. And then there were always options about, getting a surrogate, which, that of course is money, more money. There was another sister, female in the group, that went through the surrogacy process and, did well. It worked out well for her and her family. And she, shared everything with me. But the part that was still missing for me is, I still wanted to experience and still do want to experience pregnancy for myself. Like I want I want the belly. I want the morning sickness, as crazy as it sounds. I want all of what that entails. That experience is something that I still desire.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, even as we talk, surrogacy is not for me,
mm-hmm.
Not for me. So, but who's to say how I feel, 2 or 3 years down the road? I honestly don't know. Then there was always an option of adoption because, we would see these commercials on TV. We would see Wednesday's Child, and the state of Georgia has all these kids that needs to be adopted. So we said, let us try perhaps adopting. We went through that entire process to get our home cleared, the checks and everything, where they come.
Home studies.
Yeah, the home studies. I can think home studies. And there were several classes that we needed to attend, which we attended all of them. But we got to the final part and there was a stop because my husband had gotten into some trouble when he was in college. And this was 30 years ago that he has, several years ago gotten a pardon for. And because of that, we were denied. So we, could not understand how something like that you were literally right out of high school. We make bad decisions sometimes. And, even to this day, he's being held responsible for what happened basically as a 21-year-old kid.
Right.
And, we fought, we did the appeal process, but nothing ever came of it. So now every time I see those Wednesday's Child, I'm just like, you guys are really not, every case is different. And you really have to come in and get to know the family that's looking to adopt. Because it's not about trying to get some assistance or support from the government or anything like that. Like we said, if we need to sign a waiver to not get any funds, we would do that. Just allow us to even maybe get a sibling, siblings, brother, sister, or something. But when we went in for the appeal process, I thought the judge was going to understand because we had, letters of recommendations and all the documents and his pardon and everything. But he said that was not something that he could comfortably sign off on. So, over the years, I have had the opportunity to meet several different defects, managers and, social workers. But what we have found is at the end of the day, it's the judge that has to make the final decision as to whether or not he or she feels comfortable signing off, saying that we're suitable, suitable parents, intended parents. So for us to go through that process in that courtroom in front of the judge and in front of all those people and make Martin have to rehash what happened 30 years ago, it was humiliating, but he did it for me. He did it for us. But he started crying, and I, of course, started crying, and, which kind of set us back mentally, because I don't want him to have to keep, because we had to do this in front of the board of directors for defects, tell the story. Then he had to do it again in front of the judge and in front of all those people. They were in there for different, different things or whatever, but just to be that transparent in a court like that was a little uncomfortable. But he did it. But it was just a lot. It was a lot. So I think before we tried defects, we tried private adoptions, and we met with an agency, and they were like $20,000. I'm like, what in the world is all of this money for? What is it? So I think somewhere around that time, maybe a couple of years prior to, I decided to just do something different with my life, a career change, because I'd been working for over 20 years in veterinary medicine as a technician, nutritionist, just different roles. That's what I had been formally trained in. And it was something that I really enjoyed. But I decided, let me try something different. And I'd had friends to tell me, you should consider teaching. And I was like, no, I don't think I can. I don't think I would be a good teacher. But I know oftentimes my friends would ask me, come to their classroom during career day and speak to students about what I do. And I would always do it year after year, several different schools. And they were like, you're really good. I said, well, let me try, because I know I really enjoy science, because that's all that I really know, being that that's what my degree was in. Let me try. So long story short, I did a career change 6 years ago, became a teacher, and I do love it, and realized that just me being in the classroom with kids, like it feels good. They are very well, at least the district and school that I'm in, it's a Title I school, and the students are in need of quite a few things. Some, the home situation isn't that great. So, they come to me for just different things. They need snacks. They need to talk. They want to cry. They need to laugh. They need a Band-Aid. And I mean, I teach 6th grade. You would think like they don't need as much, but yeah, they do. And I'm finding that as time passes, like they're in need and I'm in need as well. So it's definitely it's a beautiful, beautiful relationship. But it keeps me content, because I've had a couple of students that actually, call me the mom away from home, or auntie or something like that, which I'm okay with that. Definitely okay. That's where I am for now. And it's helping me, it's healing. It's healing. So
where would you say your faith is in all of this?
My faith, I have definitely been up and down, because I don't always do what I'm supposed to do. I don't always do my devotions or my prayers. But I know in every instance, when I look back, every single situation that I've gotten myself in, he always gets me out of. But there's always a lesson for me to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that lesson may be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know that I'm going to come out on top, and I know that I'm going to win, but it's just like getting to that point is always, for me, it seems like just very, very, very hard, you know. But I was just telling Martin the other day, everything that is on my plate and that's dealt to me is it's something big. It's always huge, you know. As we were finally deciding to getting to the point where we were going to stop, you know, with the treatments and everything, that's when he was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer that had spread to his lymph nodes and other organs. And, you know, that's a lot. At the time, he had not turned 50, or he was 48 or 49. So, you know, as we were going through that and he was going through treatment, and prior to starting radiation, I remember having a conversation with his oncologist about, hey, this is what we were doing prior to him getting this diagnosis. Then he said, well, you definitely want to consider maybe freezing some sperm, because, you know, it's not going to be viable after he goes through this. So we did not freeze any, but I think he definitely had some testing done, you know. Everything was just kind of like all dependent upon something else, you know. Make sure you do this, because if you don't, this may happen, A, B, or C. Or it was just always, and even to today, it's just always a lot, you know, to take in consideration. It's just, you know, who would think that trying to start a family is just so hard, you know? These conversations that I'm having now are not conversations that I had when I was in my early 20s, because it wasn't talked
relevant.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because my mom had me at 44 or 45, I thought that, oh, okay, I should be fine. I didn't think that I would ever be in a situation like this. Now I'm talking to everybody, you know, the therapist that I'm seeing now, I shared with her everything, the journey and everything. And she was just sharing with me that her daughter is in her late 20s, and she was not even aware that there was even an option like freezing your eggs. So, you know, I said, you know, I don't want her to be in a situation that I'm in right now. So if there is a chance, perhaps you should consider that for her. I mean, start having that conversation now, because I know she's wanting to finish school and, you know, maybe get an advanced degree or something like that. But go ahead and have this done now, so that if and when that time comes, you are sitting on the right side of the table.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. And the thing about it is, you know, we're having these conversations right now of what people have endured and, you know, maybe have come on the other side, and or maybe not have come out and had a good outcome. But we can't forget our children and our grandchildren and our great grandchildren, because what we are seeing is that infertility is increasing at a rapid rate. And now it's 1 in 6 people are dealing with infertility. You know, just a couple of years ago, it was 1 in 8. Before that, it was 1 in 10. And the pool is shrinking.
It is.
And it's unfortunate that insurance companies and society isn't paying attention to something that is going to become so significant of a problem. And it's already a significant problem. And they're not listening. And it's just like, you need to start listening.
Yeah.
And as far as even the foster care system, no, the foster care system was not created for people to come and adopt. That wasn't the purpose of the foster care system. Initially, foster care system was put there in place to reunite families with their children. And then when it came to be that parents could not be reunited, or they were not qualified enough to be reunited with their children, then children were being put up for adoption. But it frustrates me when I hear people say, oh, well, why don't you just adopt? There's so many children out there and you just adopt. And it's like, if you only knew the hurdles and the issues and the things that someone has to go through in order to actually be able to adopt, it's not that simple.
Not at all.
At all. And I've told you this numerous times, and I'm going to tell it to you again, is I know that I told you, I feel it in my bones of that, even though I know it's been a hurdle and I know it's been a struggle, but I wholeheartedly believe that God has a plan for you. And for you and Martin. And I wholeheartedly believe, I think sometimes when we start thinking about, well, we want to be parents or we want children or whatever, we create these visions in our head of how it's supposed to be. And sometimes, we can't foresee what God has in the future and why he does the things that he does. But I also feel that he chooses who parents are. For each soul that comes into this world, he selects who they are, who the parents is going to be for that particular child. And perhaps, and I don't know, because I'm not God, and nor am I going to sit here and play. But I do feel, though, that he has someone just for you. And that maybe this delay is because your chosen child was not the time for him or her to be here yet, but it's coming. And and I tell you this all the time, that I pray for you and I pray for Martin, and I know where your heart is, and I know what it is that you hope for and pray for and believe for. And girl, I'm standing with you. And I hope every single listener that we have is standing with you, because God says where two or more are together, he is present as well. And so I'm, all the prayer warriors I'm calling on to start praying over you and Martin, and believing for this. But do you want to share where you are now?
Where I am now is after, I guess, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of just no movement at all, nothing, like just going back to what we considered our normal life. I received a phone call that there was a family that wanted to bless us with donor embryos. And I immediately got butterflies in my stomach and just all giddy and nervous and happy and scared all at the same time, like so many emotions. I, of course, said yes, not immediately because I was scared, but after I talked to Martin again, and assured him that I'm not going to go back to that dark place. Like, I really have a grip on this as best as can be,
Sure.
because I know what to expect now. I know that it can go either way. He was on board and said, one last try. So that is where we are right now. And, even with that process, it has been a process, a whole nother process, just with paperwork and just appointments because of my age and just a lot, but I have been very blessed to have the support group that I have, that even when I want to give up, that's what I'm saying, but that's not what's in my heart. Sometimes I get so frustrated because something was denied or something was delayed, or I don't want my donor family to be inconvenienced any more than what they already have been. And that's in my mind. I know that they're rooting for us. Like, I know that they're our cheerleaders, but you know how you just don't want to inconvenience anymore. So sometimes I'm just like, let's just stop because it's just too hard. But then when I get the feeling like that, almost immediately a door opens or an email is sent or something comes to just make me feel like, okay, don't give up yet. Like, because this within itself has really just, it literally came out of nowhere, just like a blessing, really unexpected blessing. And
because God got your back.
Yes.
He got your back, and he's telling you don't give up. I've seen what's been happening. I know. I knew before you knew. So don't give up. I got your back. So that's what he's saying to you. And so, like I told you, I'm believing for this, and I know your journey. So this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And like I said, hopefully to our lips, to God's ears, that he listens and that this will happen. So what do you want to leave as kind of a final share with the listeners?
Knowledge is definitely power. The more you know, the more equipped you are to not only help yourself, but to help others. In this journey, you really have to, if you're comfortable, it's best to be as transparent as possible and share what you have. Just try to be a blessing to somebody else. Just always be good at all times. Because at the end of the day, God really knows your heart. And sometimes you really have to be careful about who you share your journey with, because everybody they don't understand, and sometimes I get so caught up in me wanting to share with everybody, share with the world, but then I can get some, side eyes like, you're literally 50. Why are you even trying to do this? And then that kind of puts a damper in my spirit. So I am now mindful about who I share this with, because it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. So.
And nor can anybody tell you when it's your time and when it's not,
Exactly.
So bye. But I'm your cheerleader. So,
Yes.
So we're just going to leave it at that. And we're going to just continue praying and believing that your time will come.
Yes.
But I definitely wanted to share your story because I think often, whenever people have podcasts or people tell stories, there was a struggle, but there was always a happy ending at the end. And sometimes there isn't a happy ending. Sometimes you're still in the waiting process. Sometimes it still hasn't happened, and maybe it may never happen. We don't know, and we don't know why or whatever. And there's all different kinds of walks of life and different experiences. And one thing about infertility, there's no two people that are alike.
No two people that are alike. And like you said, it may happen for us. It might not happen, but at the end of the day, this conversation is definitely going to bless somebody. It's going to be one piece of information that somebody did not know about. It's going to help somebody. So that within itself brings me peace, because I'm definitely in a better place. I'm grateful for everyone that I have met on this journey. Definitely grateful for you. Like, I love you. You know this.
Yes.
You know this. And just you, it's like Superwoman. Like, seriously. No, seriously. I know that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, behind closed doors, that you keep from me because I don't need to know. I can't process it. Don't need to know for whatever reason. And a lot is on your shoulders, and I'm so grateful for you. You have blessed and continue to bless so many people in so many ways. You have no idea. None. And every night you should sleep just a little bit better knowing that you made a difference, because you really, really, really do. You were meant for this, nobody else. And that's major. That really is.
Oh, you ain't supposed to be making me cry on my own podcast.
That's the connections that you make with families. I would not know even how to start. What am I supposed to do? What was I supposed to do? Don't know, didn't have a clue. A lot of the testing, a lot of the packages of information to read, I don't know what that means. I solely depend on you. If you say, do this, and do this, done, no question, no second, that's powerful.
Well, I'm not going to take credit because, yeah, you know how I am with my faith. And
you're a vessel.
When I tell you I leave it all up to God, I really do. And I'm not going to sit here and take any credit for any of it, because there are days when I come into this office and I'm like, God, I don't even know what to do. I have no idea. Like, this is in your hands. You need to, need to work this out. And he does every single time. And so, I know there are people who are listening who are not believers or whatever, maybe they are or whatever. It doesn't matter. I know for me what it is. But I also know my faith is to have my heart open to everybody and anybody. Yeah. I'm not going to, I don't think I'm better than anybody. And I just do as I'm told to do by my God.
Yeah. Thank you for being obedient.
So, yeah. So, well, girl, I love you. And we, season 6, we're going to come back on here and we're going to have a whole different story.
Definitely. All
right. So that's how we're going to end this podcast. You guys come back to season 6 to hear the update from this story. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please rate Fertility Cafe on your favorite listening platform and share this episode with anyone you think could benefit from hearing it. Tune in next week for another amazing episode on Fertility Cafe. Until then, remember, love has no limits. Neither should parenthood.